Hi guys, this is Frankie for the Pixel Slayers. Today we are going to be doing a quick unboxing and review video of the Hori Mini PS4 controller, so stay tuned. Alright, so quick disclaimer, I did open this before so I could test it, but I did repack it the way it was packed. The box is pretty nice, pretty unique looking box. Does not look like anything else you're going to see on the shelf. It is made by Hori, but it's an officially licensed product, has a PlayStation logo. Hori's been around for years and they make a lot of first party, well, no, I guess not first party, but first party licensed third-party peripherals for Sony and Nintendo products. And yeah, they're a Japanese company and they make some really good stuff, so pretty excited when this came out to see, you know, how it felt and if it was going to be good for smaller hands. So let's open it up. It's kind of old school packaging, which is appropriate for this old school controller. Well, I think it's old school, and I'll explain why in a minute. So yeah, you open it up, you just have another cardboard piece in here. You got the manual, and it just talks about, you know, everything. Not much to see here. And then in the box you have the cable, and then in the wrapper you have the actual controller itself. So let's get all that junk out of the way and get to the goods. So first things first, it feels completely different than pretty much anything you're gonna, you know, buy from Sony. It's made for kids, and my daughter's been playing with this, and basically it's made to be rugged and, you know, basically kid-proof. So they use hard plastics, but they're comfortable. They actually feel really nice. No rubber joysticks here. These are not going to come apart. Basically they did that so they wouldn't come apart, and even though they are hard plastics, they feel very comfortable. And then the buttons feel pretty comfortable too. I'm not gonna lie, it's definitely a little cheaper materials, but I think it's something they need to do to, you know, for the product. It's very rugged. I have no problem guessing that this is probably gonna last a long time. It doesn't have the touchpad, but it has a little touchpad button. And then they just kept the basic rubber buttons for the PlayStation and option and share. On top, they had the trigger. They put the triggers on top. I don't really understand why they're different sizes. I'm guessing this probably has something to do with how this curves here. So, yeah, it's a really good controller. It's very responsive, and obviously, you know, it's plug-in USB, so you don't have to worry about any latency issues. The cable it comes with is 10 feet long, and it's more than enough length for just about any setup, so that's a nice thing. And it's pretty cheap. The MSRP is $30, but you can find them easily for $20 from major US retailers at least. And yeah, it's kind of a throwback controller, and the reason why I say that is because it has these little curvatures, kind of like the old Sega Genesis controller, which it really reminds me of. You know, it really does remind me of a newer Sega Genesis controller, even up to the curves up here. And that's kind of nice because when I was a kid, this was my first system I bought with my own money. And the thing is, when you're a kid, you don't have big enough hands usually to go around this whole thing. So usually you hold it like this. And that's something that they definitely, you know, kept. You know, they put these here. So, like my daughter, for example, holds the controller like this because her hands aren't big enough to go all the way down like this. But even though her hands go like this, it's still comfortable for her, and it's still comfortable for me to hold it like this. So, it's a pretty nice design. I think inspired by the Sega Genesis controller. Size comparison, it's smaller. Matter of fact, it's probably closest in size to the original NES controller. But the buttons are a little bit smaller, but the D-pad's actually bigger, so it's definitely has the right sizes in the right places. The original Nintendo controller is probably the closest thing I can give you that's, you know, to size. if you look at this little Joy-Con, even that's smaller. So it's not quite as small as the Joy-Con, which is nice because it can be used for adult hands, and so can this. But let's be honest, it's not like the ideal controller. And then compared to the PlayStation 4 controller, it's a little tiny thing compared to this huge monster controller right here. Look at that. I mean, just look at how this towers over it. The joysticks are closer together, obviously. The D-pad's smaller, but it's not like ridiculously smaller, so I think that's good. And the buttons are actually just a tiny bit smaller, which I think is a nice little insight. They didn't like try to shrink everything down to the point where it's like, little hamster buttons. And honestly, even though these are shorter up here, it actually makes sense because you touch it with your triggers, and if you're playing it, small hands, you're gonna be touching it like that. So I think it's pretty well thought out design, and I think they did a great job with it. So it's solidly built, old school design inspired, and everything just feels right. I'm not gonna lie, it's cheap. Like, it's cheap to buy, and it's cheaper materials, but these cheaper materials are rugged materials that they don't squeak. For squeezing it doesn't squeak, and it gets the job done. And I think it's gonna have a lot more life than this would. If you give this to a kid, first of all, they're not going to be able to comfortably hold this thing. Second of all, these things, you kiss those goodbye in about a month, and water's going to go in there, water's going to go in here. I mean, you don't want to give this to a kid. This, I have no problem dropping $20 and letting the kid use it. I mean, this is perfect. I think it's the perfect compromise in size and functionality. So for $20, I highly recommend this product. You can't go wrong. I think, honestly, I like this controller. It's very comfortable. I have no problem using this. It does not have rumble. It does work for PC, and it does work for the PlayStation 3. So you can play your PS1 games on your PS3, and if you have a backwards compatible PS3, you can play PS2 games with it. So that just kind of opens up a whole large window of games that my daughter can play now, which is great. So it doesn't really work on the Switch. There's been a lot of reports of compatibility issues on the Switch, but I don't think you're gonna have a problem because you could just use this on the Switch. The Xbox, I don't think it really works on that. That might change with an update or so, but it does work great on all Sony products and the PC. So if you're looking for a cheap, child-friendly controller, this is it. It's probably the only thing I would recommend. It's licensed, and yeah, highly recommend it. So if you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful, click that like button. If you haven't already, please subscribe. It really helps us a lot. This is Frankie, and I'm wishing everybody a great day, and stay tuned for more great content. Thank you.